is, I don't know if I don't. What is up, everyone? Camera's on now. What is shaking? Hold on a second. I was literally looking up some stuff, looking up some things, because I found something quite interesting. A voice that I haven't heard for a little bit in these UFO circles. Anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. Hello, welcome back to another live edition of Lou Reviews, your home for credible news and reviews on everything paranormal, and the destination for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. Please don't forget to smack that like button, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell, that way you're notified anytime we go live like this. I am sorry, this schedule's been all over the place. I apologize to the audience. I am so sorry. But these days with work and other projects I'm working on, I just kind of get the urge to do the show. If I've got the time or a pocket to do it and there's enough to talk about, I'll do a show. And so that's one of these cases where I've got stuff I want to get off my chest. I want to talk about, and we're going to talk about today, primarily the fallout and the reaction from the UFO community to the AARO hearing that was just that we covered live on what was it, Tuesday? If you haven't watched that, please go back and watch it. We cover the whole thing, give my live reactions to the hearing, and those things really haven't changed today. I still feel all of the same things that I feel after. Nothing really more to add on it, but we'll get into it. First, before we get started, I want to say hello to everyone who's in the show who's able to join us today. And again, I'm sorry, guys, but thank you for being here. Simon Fly, Blaster Axe, John P. Adventures, Horsey, thank you for being here. Gerald Greenwood, he says, wait, what did Horsey say? Arrow is lame. I miss AIMSOG. It was easier to say. Really? AIMSOG is easier to say? That's funny. Let's see here. B. Baker, what is shaking? Dave B. Simon Fly said, all of you guys, thank you so damn much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Gerald. I saw Gerald. Where's Gerald? Gerald Greenwood. What's shaking? Pinzer Lou. Thank you again. Oh, let's kill the music. Music is now killed. Okay. Today was the day that the music died. All right. Let's switch over to our trusty, well, before we do that, let's do that. Let's to our trusty Lou Reviews studio view. And let me also just adjust this window here. Again, guys, like I'm doing shows on the fly, and because of that, you know, sometimes things aren't set up when I come in here. Okay. I think we can, you know what? Let's do this. I think I like this better. I like this better because sometimes the tweet will pop up on the right side of the screen when I don't want it to, and I want you guys to see it, but you can't see it because it's way the hell over here. So we're going to do this. Okay. There we go. So you see more of it with me. Okay. Where do we start? Well, let's start at our bookmarks. How about that? And thankfully, I have tweets for the show and Popcats now separated. Okay, a few things. This is the first thing I want to start with because I knew that this footage, I mean, literally, I tagged it 8 hours ago, and right before the show, 2 hours ago, this dropped. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it because I knew this was going to happen. So this is Visgrad 24. This is new video, shows Russian ICBM strike against Dnipro this morning. It's the first time in human history that an ICBM has been used in a war. Incredible footage. And the reason why I tagged this, obviously, look, we're, I don't know how we have a president that can't rerun for president. He's so mentally out of it that he can't rerun for president, but he can possibly ignite and start World War III. I don't care which way you lean. The actions of this administration right now to further antagonate or instigate, excuse me, this this conflict between Ukraine and Russia is infuriating. And again, just a reason why I didn't vote for Democrats this season or this election season. But that personal stuff aside, the political stuff aside, this to me is so weird looking. I've never seen an ICBM strike in my life. And this is the first time that anyone's caught it on film during a time of war. And my first thought went to, shit, man, can you imagine if you were seeing, even if you were in the military, okay, but you didn't have access to the missile testing of an ICBM, and you saw this, let's say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because you were on patrol or whatever the thing was, you were in your plane and you were looking down and you saw this. I could understand very easily how anyone would look at this and go, that's gotta be fucking alien. But in fact, it's the farthest thing from it. It is very much man-made. And again, this is video, and I also have to stress, this is video with heavy compression. It's filmed at night. The camera, the quality of this is not great. But even so, this is an incredible, like, what it looks like whole entities of light are just being, it almost looks like War of the Worlds, where, you know, the lightning strikes the ground and it's really just a pod entering into the ground. These beings entering, like literally riding lightning to get into their death machines. And I said to myself, shit, dude, this is going to be used in a UFO fucking account at some point as a UFO sighting. And lo and behold, here it is. New video from Dnipro. Alien UFO sightings. He like suggesting that, again, this is alien. You know, like, it's no context, nothing. Just, this is where it's from. You guys tell me what it is. And that's the move by a lot of UFO hoaxers and clickbaiters is, I don't know, you tell us. That's very much the move from like people like Third Phase of Moon. You know, they're like, oh, we don't know. We just report what, you know, when it comes into us, we put it out to you guys to figure out. And then when you figure it out, or especially when you figure out that they're the ones who created the ghost pepper illusion, filmed it, and then put it out as a real UFO sighting over Los Angeles, and you can verify these things through their own hoax video. You know, it holds a lot less water. But, you know, I just, like, again, this will not be the last time you see this, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people are going to be exposed to this video. And this video for years will be used as some kind of paranormal happening. And I promise you, the location will change, the circumstance will change, there'll be a story attached to it. This will grow into an urban legend like no other, and then people in 4 years will be using this in a UFO argument as some proof that CE5 works. You know, like, these things were summoned. And that's just the way it happens with the UFO community, and how they spread terrible information. So, okay. So I wanted to point that out. Let's get to a couple other things here. And I don't think, so funny. Okay, so this was some big news in the UFO community. So UAP whistleblower Tim Gallaudet alleges that Jay Stratton ordered the Go Fast video to be removed from the U.S. Navy email network. It reveals the fractured nature of the UAP policy right now, that Jay gets an award, but we don't get to talk about this. Okay, so let's listen to what this clip says.
But ultimately, I found out later, I know what happened. That email was wiped from my computer the next day, and my boss and the operations officer never talked about it in different meetings. How did that happen? Because this gentleman in charge of the UAP task force at the time directed that the email be taken off because that he wasn't sure if that was U.S. tech or not, as Leslie mentioned. Jay Stratton, he led that task force, and he actually that little symbol in the middle, he just got an award this year for leading his effort to investigate UFOs by the current director of national intelligence, which is quite astonishing. It kind of reveals the sort of fractured nature of our UAP policy right now, that he gets an award, but we don't talk about it. I don't know what. So that's a whole other thing.
Well, just because, if anything, it's a fucking red flag that this guy who has promoted, injected, and partaken in fake haberdashery, UFO haberdasheries, like it is, yeah, no wonder why they probably don't want to talk about this award that he got from Avril Haines, the director of national intelligence, for his studies on UFOs. Yeah, why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about that? Why? What are the specific reasons he gets a medal for investigating UFOs? What has his findings led to get an award? Or was it the things that he did to perpetuate a false narrative to get things done behind the scenes from a national intelligence perspective, i.e. cover up the huge hole in national security that we've had for the last easily 2-3 decades? I'm sure he doesn't understand that. I think he just blew up his buddy here, because now people are going to get to the bottom of why. Why was this medal given to him by Avril Haines? I want to hear that again.
Computer the next day, and my boss and the operations officer never talked about it in different meetings. How did that happen? Because this gentleman in charge of the UAP task force at the time directed that the email be taken off because that he wasn't sure if that was U.S. tech or not.
He couldn't figure out, the guy who just got a medal, who is looked at as the UFO sort of like Mulder. He's literally the guy in charge of the X-Files. And he could not figure out, according to what Tim Gallaudet is implying here, he wanted to take down the Go Fast video because he couldn't determine whether it was alien tech or US tech. And when you do the trigonometry on it and the math, it shows that the object is going less than 40 miles an hour. And it's 33,000 feet in the sky. So it's probably a balloon. And because of the parallax effect and the misidentification of the pilots who are witnessing it in real time. That's another thing that I don't think people are paying attention to. We have got a case where in real time you get pilots operating multi-million-dollar systems and not being able to understand what they're looking at. They think that they've caught something that's going fast, and they can't understand what they're looking at is the parallax effect. It is a beautiful example of how pilots, and we keep hearing highly trained, you got to respect the pilot testimony. Here we have it in real time where the pilots are like, whoa, got it. You know, remember the audio footage and that accompanied the Go Fast? So you have pilots in real time getting it wrong. And then we take that video, we analyze it, and we figure out, oh, it's the parallax effect. The thing's actually going slow. And this is something that the director of the UAPTF could not figure out. And somehow he's getting a fucking medal for his work on UFOs and UAP from the director of national intelligence. Excuse me. Make it make sense to me. Why? Why?
As Leslie mentioned, Jay Stratton, he led that task force, and he actually, that little symbol in the middle, he just got an award this year for leading his effort to investigate UFOs by the current director of national intelligence, which is quite astonishing. It kind of reveals this sort of fractured nature of our UAP policy right now, that he gets an award, but we don't talk about it. I don't know what. So that's a whole.
I don't know why and that's a whole nother. I think he's realizing in real time that he shouldn't be talking about that. Let's talk about it, Tim. Why? Why? What has he brought forward that has been good evidence or good information? He's helped spread rumors about people getting cancer from the Skinwalker Ranch because of the hitchhiker effect. He's sitting there taking licks on his guitar with Travis Taylor and journalist Micah Hanks. Turns out Jay Stratton is actually really good family friends with Tim McMillan, who works for Micah Hanks. Where? At the debrief. This is not fractured. It's only fractured in who's on whose team and which narrative you want to believe. Which narrative do you want to pay the price of admission with your belief system? That's the only fracture. I'm dying to know who's going to be the first to find out why Avril Haines is giving Jay Stratton a medal for his UFO research, when we just showed that he's either an idiot or he's pushing bullshit on purpose. I don't think there's any in-betweens there. Because again, if you're the director of the UAPT, it's the same thing with Lou Elizondo. You claim to be the director of ATIP. Turns out ATIP wasn't a real thing. And then you were part of OSAP. And it turns out nobody ever said you were part of OSAP except for you. I don't know. Two different stories. But regardless, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And why is UFO Joe not asking questions about this? He's such a great researcher. We'll talk about his mental breakdown after this Senate hearing. And why is Tim Gallaudet still pushing the go fast as if it's something mysterious when it is not? It is definitively, look, if you're going to put a video out there called Go Fast and imply that it's aliens flying it, and then it turns out that it's actually not going fast at all, it's going slow. If that's the video that you put out as evidence, and then dig your heels in when you figure out the solution as to what it probably is, they just dig their heels in more. It's wild. It is absolutely wild.
Another thing. But that email was wiped from my computer because Jay directed it so, and they were trying to investigate. Is that U.S. tech, adversary tech, or something different? And ultimately, I've communicated with Jay, and we realize now it was not U.S. tech, and it was not adversary tech. It's something different, and we don't know what it is. He's getting medals for that.
medals for fake videos. Not fake videos, but let me rephrase that. Unresolved videos that they should have been able to resolve. Very resolvable videos.
But ultimately,
it makes no sense whatsoever. No sense at all. Oh, this is a cool little rumor that Joe Murgia is spreading. U.S. Congress has found the UFO crash retrieval program hidden within the private sector. They are working on getting full access to these programs. Joe Murgia. And I think this is the tweet. So, yeah. I've heard it from the UFO Joe last night on his show. Hopefully I got the details right. If not, hopefully he could correct me and add some clarity. He's like, not gossip, and I've said it before. My educated opinion... So it's not gossip, it's his fucking opinion. Like, please articulate the difference for me there. Unreal, dude. My educated opinion, Congress knows / found the location of the crash retrieval program. I have no idea if they or AARO have tried to access it. How do they handle this going forward? Do we get to hear about it? Don't know. As Jack Palance said, believe it or not. And then Witless Citizen chimes in. I wonder if Congress comes to the same thought as the secret keepers need to keep this quiet. Adorable. I guess Witless Citizen is back. I thought he disappeared for a little while, but I guess he's back, everyone. Oh, no, this is from 2022. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, like from 2022, and it's still none of this shit has come to fruition. This is, what is this? This is funny. Okay, so this is something that Manny503 put out. Wonder why no one taking the UFO hearing seriously? Because the UAP subject has been dumbed down to a conspiracy theory and lumped in with flat Earth, CIA bird drones, fake moon landings, and, etc. So much for dispelling the stigma, folks.
Now that we have all been cautioned in this committee hearing that the mention of Pentagon's Immaculate Constellation program could put us on a list, well, I already find myself on many lists, I'm sure. So I speak my mind often, so why not just keep going with it? May as well just go all out and say it. The Earth is flat, birds are government drones, and we've never set on foot on the moon, and Joe Biden received 81 million votes in the 2020 election. So let's just see how many lists we could get on here today.
Oh no! Oh no! No!
Dude, yep. A big stinker. This is funny. Witless Citizen. I went to look for his song he wrote for Elizondo, and it's gone. Yeah, all of his stuff is gone. I looked up, and we'll get to another person who's also disappeared from the internet. For better or worse, we're gonna find out here in a minute. But Witless Citizen, yeah, he wrote a song for Elizondo. It was so cringe. Every song he wrote was pretty damn cringe. I know he's gotten a divorce. He's moved. He's still writing terrible music. But I think he's gotten out of the UFO game completely. He was an interesting character. Very, very interesting character. One of those extremists that got caught in his extremism, apologized to me for it, and then went right back to doing his extremist bullshit. And then I think he probably realized after a divorce and some other shit, oh, this is ruining my life, and he got out. He's completely out. So good for him. Good for him. I don't know. That's just me guessing as to what happened to him, but it is interesting. So this was, okay, so we've talked about this stupid thing a few times, and this is Project Gravitas, and this is Bob Lazar giving his opinion on congressional hearings, and the quote is, "I told you so." Bob Lazar was telling the truth all along about UFO secrecy for decades, at least part of it. In return, all he got was ridiculed and smeared. World owes Bob an apology. Nobody owes Bob shit. Bob has profited a lot from his story, and there are a lot of paper and money trails that prove that. He's an untrustworthy fellow and has been convicted of running a brothel. He was a pimp. You know, I don't know about you, but last I checked, the United States government doesn't hire pimps to look at top secret UFO crash retrieval stuff. Oh, thank you for the donation. Blaster Axe, who says, thanks for the unexpected stream. No problem, man. I you know, I'll do it when I can. I'm here for you guys. And I'm here for me. Mostly me, but thank you. Okay, so let's listen to what Bob Lazar has to say here. Here's Luigi Venditelli. Hi, I'm Luigi Venditelli, and I'm here with the Bob Lazar.
Hi, I'm Luigi Venditelli.
And I'm Bob Lazar.
And we're in Montreal on the set of Project Gravator. 2 days ago was a congressional hearing in Washington, D.C., which is making news around the world. And if you had one comment to say, Bob, on this congressional hearing, what would it be?
I told you so.
I told you so. I told you they wouldn't bring any evidence or proof or confirmation that extraterrestrials are visiting the planet Earth and we've been reverse engineering their technology. I told you they wouldn't bring a goddamn thing, didn't I? You know, all I have to do is just bring out my Element 115 that I told everybody I had, and that would be the end of the conversation. But here I am with my hands in my pockets on Project Gravator. Fucking schmucks. I wonder if they just... Did they take the concept and the name from the carnival ride, the Gravitron, which if you've ever been on, I think is probably the best carnival ride out there. It's a UFO thing where you sit on a slate, and as the thing spins, the slate moves up because of the centrifugal force. It's a really cool thing. You can't, like, it's hard to lift your arms or get out of it. And this Gravator, I don't know. Wouldn't shock me. Just saying, they're a little familiar. Or whatever. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, so here we go. This is from Red Panda, who writes, audio from the Q&A session with the new AARO Director, John Koslowski. This is from November 14th, 2024.
Version of their annual report on unidentified anomalous phenomena as required by statute. In a moment, I'll turn it over to Dr. Koslowski to provide opening remarks. Then we will go to Q&A. I will be moderating and calling on you because Dr. Koslowski, if this is his first time with you all, we would appreciate it if you would identify.
So I wonder, where is this from? This is interesting because this is 28 minutes long. I'm not sure we're going to be able to listen to all of this.
Identify yourself by name and outlet when you ask your question.
But this has got to be in front of
one question and one
some
follow-up.
journalists.
And if we have more time, then I will circle back. We have about 30 minutes. All right? Dr. Koslowski.
Thanks, Jim. Good morning. I'm Dr. John Koslowski, Director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. It's a pleasure to be here today to introduce myself and to provide an update of the work of our office. As you know, I assumed the AARO Directorship in August, following more than 2 decades at the National Security Agency, where I did advanced research in the areas of optics, computing, and cryptomathematics. By nature, I'm drawn to tough scientific problems, which is what brought me to AARO and the UAP mission. Unidentified objects in any domain pose potential threats to safety and security. Reports of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, particularly near national security sites, must be treated seriously and investigated with scientific rigor by the U.S. government. Since becoming director, I've been extremely pleased by AARO's team and the framework they've established for rigorous analysis of UAP reports. AARO has taken meaningful steps to improve data collection and retention, bolster sensor development, effectively triage UAP reports, and reduce the stigma of reporting a UAP event. In the coming year, AARO will prioritize building partnerships, promoting increased transparency, and scaling up the work of the office. This week, the department delivered its fiscal year 2024 consolidated annual report on UAP and had the opportunity to brief.
You know what? We're going to try and listen to this whole thing because I think I haven't heard this. I haven't heard this whole thing. I just bookmarked it. I thought it was a shorter clip, but this is actually probably going to be insanely valuable. So here we have I wonder how many journalists are in there. I wonder where did this audio come from, Panda? If you're in the audience, I'd love to know. Let me see if anybody here are the highlights. I'd love to know about the Phoenix Lights. Blah, 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 blah. Nobody says. I guess this must have been after this hearing.
Staff on the report's findings.
But yeah,
as of today,
we're going to listen to this. This is all stuff that we kind of heard already in the hearing. But I'd like to hear what questions are asked from the media about this. Because that's going to really clue us into like where the media's at, you know, like what kind of questions are they asking about this? So this is interesting.
1,600 UAP reports, 757 of which, AARO has received over 1,600 UAP reports.
I'm going to refill my water, guys. I'll be right back.
757
Still listening.
of which came to AARO during the period covered by the report. AARO has successfully resolved hundreds of cases in its holdings to commonplace objects such as balloons, birds, drones, satellites, and aircraft. Meanwhile, over 900 reports lack sufficient data for scientific data for analysis and are retained in our active archive. These cases may be reopened and resolved should additional information emerge to support analysis. I want to emphasize that
bumped the audio.
only a very small percentage of reports to AARO are potentially anomalous, these are the cases that require significant time, resources, and a focused scientific inquiry by AARO and its partners. It is also important to underscore that to date, AARO has discovered no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology. None of the cases resolved by AARO have pointed to advanced capabilities or breakthrough technologies. It is also worth noting that AARO continues to see a geographic bias of UAP reports near U.S. military assets and sensors. However, this bias has been mitigated somewhat by an increase in commercial pilot reporting in the continental United States. AARO is working closely with the services to implement existing reporting guidance while expanding UAP reporting to more of the interagency. Meanwhile, AARO continues to review the U.S. historical record relating to UAP and will release a second volume of its congressionally directed historical record report. We welcome any former or current government, civilian, contractor, or military service member with relevant information to reach out to us at www.aaro.mil. For every UAP report, operational or historical, AARO will follow the science and data wherever they lead. And we are committed to sharing as much information as possible at the unclassified level to inform the public of our activities and findings. With that, I'll take your questions.
Brandy?
Thanks. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm Brandy Vincent with Defense Scoop. One question on the report and then a follow-up. It noted that the next step for Gremlin, the Gremlin capability, is conducting a 90-day pattern of life collection at a national security site. Where is that going to be? How did you pick that location? And what ultimately are you guys trying to accomplish with that?
So it's currently deployed. We'd rather not say exactly where it is because we want it to be an unbiased test and don't want to invite folks to come and do flyovers and test against the system. We chose that specific location because of the environment. We expect there to be a lot of variety in the types of things that we're going to see, and there have been UAP reports in that general area. And we're trying to build a baseline. So right now we have this geographic bias where we are getting reports near the national security sites, but we also have a bias from pilots and other security personnel. So we want to have a better understanding of what normal looks like near those national security sites. And then eventually we'll be expanding our baseline investigations to other areas in the US to look at what normal looks like away from national security sites.
And then after the hearing on the Hill yesterday, lawmakers were saying that they are really keen to meet in a skiff with AARO officials, other DoD officials, whistleblowers, and members of Congress. Is that something you've been approached about, have done, or are open to doing?
So we're absolutely open to meeting with everybody. We've been meeting with a variety of folks, from whistleblowers through staffers, and we encourage anybody with direct information to come to us, go to our secure reporting mechanism on the website, and when we get that, we'll reach out to them, schedule a meeting in the skiff. And Congress has enabled us to receive all sensitive information regardless of classification or NDAs they may have signed, and we receive that information and we follow up on every tip that they provide us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
2 questions. One, I was wondering if you could talk about whether any analysis or data of reports you have received.
No, so just to catch everyone up who's here, this is, I guess, a Q&A session after both the closed and open hearing, Senate hearing on Wednesday, or Tuesday, excuse me. And this was, I guess, a Q&A session with members of the media, and they don't, I would imagine that there would be some sort of footage of this Q&A, but it doesn't appear that we have that. All we have is the audio of the Q&A. So we're listening to it now. These are totally different questions asked by journalists. So no, this is not the same. So far we've heard, obviously that AARO has found no evidence of extraterrestrial life within our atmosphere or visiting our planet. And also we've heard that, this idea that, there's people out there that want to get into skiffs and tell their story. AARO is ready to meet with those people. They've been ready to meet with those people. So whoever they are, it's time to come forward. There has never been a better time or more eyeballs. So if you're going to come out publicly, now would be the time to do it, because this is the time you're going to get the most public support to do so. I think if somebody came out and was a real UFO reverse engineering alien body whistleblower, the community would grow immensely overnight in support for someone who's being persecuted by our federal government for telling us the truth about possibly the biggest question ever to be asked. So this idea that you'll be persecuted, you'll also be infamous, and you will be protected, I think, by a large group of curious citizens, because if you've got evidence that genuinely reveals that, then I think people are going to back it. People that are not, and I mean, I'm talking everyone, everyone would be on that person's side. So and I don't think, especially with the upcoming administration, I don't think they'd prosecute someone like that, especially based off of what they've said leading up to their election win. So right now there's no better time. There really isn't. So this excuse that AARO can't be trusted, or this narrative that whistleblowers will be reprimanded or set fire to, like a witch. That's just not the case. It really isn't. So it's a good question. Anyway, that's where we're at with this. So we're going to continue.
Led you to the foreign adversary conclusion, specifically the UAS's 18 reports of UASs spotted near nuclear facilities. And then I was wondering if you could just talk about the effort to increase engagement with foreign partners for a broader array of sensors, data analysis information.
Sure. So firstly, no, we have not been able to correlate any UAP activity to adversarial collection activities or advanced technologies. I also want to make it clear that UAP covers a lot of potential activity. By its very nature, the definition is in the name, right? So it's unidentified and it's anomalous. Once we know that it's a UAV or a UAS of some nature, we then hand that responsibility off to one of our partners. So Langley being a great example, it was known to be UAV activity, so we were there in a supporting role, but it was not our responsibility to address that. So those investigations are conducted by somebody else, and we're focusing on the truly anomalous where we don't understand the activity. And then for the foreign engagement, we're working on increasing our foreign engagement. We recognize that UAP is not just going to be a domestic issue. The office has focused primarily on US government, and we're going to be growing to public reporting soon in 2025, and we're going to be growing our international partnerships hopefully also in 2025. So starting with the group that we have the most familiarity with, and then growing that.
Are there any specific countries you can name in terms of who you aim to work with?
We are going to be starting with the traditional allies of the DoD and the IC, and we'll leave it at that for now until we have those partnerships well established, and then we'll probably come out with more information. Yeah.
Nick Schifrin, PBS NewsHour. Thanks very much for doing this. This may be basic and silly, but I just want to read you a quotation from the hearing yesterday and have you respond to it. This is Luis Elizondo, former DoD official. Let me be clear, UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. The U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. Can you just give us a sense of your perspective on that quotation?
Break that down. So there's a lot in that quotation. Firstly, absolutely agree UAP are real. We, as I said, we've received 1,600 cases. A large number of those are unresolved, which means we don't know exactly what they are. Until we know what they are or who they belong to, we can't attribute intent and understand exactly what the purpose of that phenomenon is. So we're not comfortable, we, AARO, not comfortable saying at this time whether or not the UAP are there to collect information or not. In regards to whether or not AARO, US government, or any other government has UAP, we have not found any evidence of that at this time.
But the bottom line conclusion remains what you said at the top. There's no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial activity.
We have not found any. No.
Okay, do you listen? Do you hear these questions? These are such good questions, and I have a feeling the reason why is because the journalists in this room are military, foreign policy journalists. This is their world, and they're listening very carefully to what this director has to say, which was at the top of this, there is no evidence of extraterrestrial life. And so let me use this quote by one of these whistleblowers, right? And then please break down this quote. Okay, let's break it down. Yes, UAP are real. There are things out there that people have not been able to identify. But just because it's unidentifiable doesn't mean it's alien. And no one's willing to jump to that conclusion except for fake whistleblowers and prophets of profit. And people selling movies, TV shows, books. There is no evidence. Zero. And these are the journalists that the reason why there wasn't a gaggle of people, and when I say a gaggle, I mean journalists sitting in front of people giving testimony both on Tuesday and Wednesday, both at the congressional and Senate level hearings. Nobody was there because they know exactly what's happening here. Just because it's the fact that it's unidentifiable from AARO's perspective and also from the journalists that are asking the question is clearly there's not enough data for them to say one way or the other. But the purpose of this office is to start getting answers on these things that people are seeing that have never been reported simply because they look weird. And there was a stigma attached to it. Now that you've got policies and procedures going in place, they're trying to fix that. And that's what this is. It's a scramble to fix a hole in national security. It's also I think it's a multi-level thing. Not just that. It's a great way to hide our own tech. It's a great way to get people to pay attention, because let me tell you why this is not being shared like crazy around the UFO community. Because it deflates their belief balloon. Because there is no journalists in this room like Christopher Sharp or Jeremy Corbell or George Knapp. And there's good reasons why they're not in this room, because number one, the questions that they ask would be stupid and they don't want to look stupid. And also the questions that would be asked of them would probably be answered with what you're getting right now. And it's like, whoa, you clearly didn't listen to what I said at the prefacing this Q&A. You clearly didn't hear what I said, but these journalists are listening and they are hearing what he's saying. And they are beautifully, and I think this is where the real journalists live. They're in the trenches getting data and getting information and asking questions, and then they're passing that information, and however or whatever gets filtered through that upper level eventually to your local broadcasts or national broadcasts. I think in a lot of cases it's different, because the questions that are being asked here are not the points that are being made above them. And those are the people, and those are your broadcasters that call themselves journalists. They're not doing journalism. They're just reading what's on the teleprompter. And this information, these kinds of questions are not the ones they're talking about at News Nation, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC. Like, this is not what Gaddy Schwartz, this is what Gaddy Schwartz should be talking about. He should be paying attention to questions like this. This is one of the best questions I've heard out of a journalist in a long time regarding this nonsense. Thank you for sharing this. And by the way, share more of stuff like this, but ask questions. Don't just put it out there as if it's not, important. Like, where are the spaces around this discussion? Where are the Twitter spaces around the questions asked in here? They're not happening because the believers don't want to hear this shit, number one. They don't want to hear it. And even if they do hear it, they're not listening. It's always a yeah, but who knows? Maybe we'll reach one or two of them today, because there have been a couple people that have defected. And we'll get into that as well if we got time.
Just to follow up on that, a lot of people read that, saw that hearing. When you said there was no breakthrough technologies, the person seems to be suggesting that, at a minimum, these are breakthrough technologies. What leads you to assume that the ones that the UAP cases that you can't resolve are not potentially breakthrough technologies? Or is it that you just haven't been able to conclusively decide either way?
That's exactly right. So we don't fully understand the phenomenon enough to say whether or not it's a breakthrough technology or not. So it's a very small percentage of our overall cases that, after the initial analysis, still have the anomalous characteristics that one could attribute breakthrough technologies to. It's less than 3.5% of our cases. And we're still studying those with our IC and S&T partners, trying to understand what technologies could be used to provide those characteristics, but we don't understand them well enough to say whether it's a breakthrough technology, a misunderstanding of the sensor performance, or something else.
I mean, a skeptic might say that, if you just because you can't explain it isn't a reason to assume that it's not a breakthrough technology. Or, by definition, a breakthrough technology would be something that you don't have. If you don't have it, you can't explain, right?
Agreed, 100%. So we're not ruling it out. We're open to that as an explanation for it, but we're just not attributing breakthrough technology as the explanation to it. An open mind works both ways. So if we don't understand what it is, we can't say that it is or is not breakthrough technology. So we're just trying to keep an open mind.
It's not a catch-22.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. We accept that the explanation could be a misunderstanding of ours in interpreting the data, or it could be a breakthrough technology. Until we understand, we don't know.
Thank you, Rogers, for the help.
Have you found anything that might be a breakthrough technology? I know you're saying you don't know if there are breakthroughs yet, but something that might be a breakthrough technology near the military sites, some of those sightings you've seen near the military sites, have you found anything that might be that, or have they all just been drones and UAS?
Definitely not all just drones and UAS. So we have several particularly interesting cases. We're working on, within the office, working with our partners to downgrade several of those cases so we can talk about them publicly. But there are interesting cases that my physics and engineering background and time in the IC, I do not understand. And I don't know anybody else who understands them either.
But those near military sites and facilities?
Until we get the information approved for release, I'd rather not say where those sightings were, but definitely interesting sightings.
Interesting. Now that is an interesting thing that he's just said here. They're not all drones, but if they are close to military bases, it's not that big of a leap to go, okay, well, maybe they're just testing things. And whatever system you're seeing that test on, might be classified. But it's interesting that he's trying to get it to a point where the AARO office can talk about it, a mysterious object. So intriguing. Evidence of aliens? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's according to him. But he is intrigued by it, by someone who was in the intelligence community and by someone who does have the science degrees and physics degrees to at least get a decent understanding of what he's looking at. And he's going, yeah, I don't know what these things are. And by opening it up, I think to open source it, maybe we could get some answers on it. Who knows? I like that he's fighting and he's trying to get that stuff declassified. And if it turns out that this physics-defying looking thing turns out to be a very terrestrial thing, then that's an answer. And if it turns out to be a not terrestrial thing or not a secret access program or new tech made by human hands, we've got an interesting conversation. We still don't have evidence, but now we've got a really interesting conversation. But if you're missing but if you're getting the illusion of it being physics defying, I hope you have more than one angle of it. Because again, like we've got pilots in real time looking at an object through their systems that they're getting wrong in real time. So that could be the same thing with AARO. You know, you could be getting it wrong if you don't have all the right data. But just because it stays in the anomalous checkmark box does not mean we get to stamp extraterrestrial on it. It just doesn't. It doesn't. No matter how much you want it to.
Louis Martinez with ABC News. Thank you for doing this and welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. I'd like to follow up on the earlier question about incidents you cannot explain based on your broad experience. A couple of follow-ups on that, please. Were these all within the last year? Were these all at the same location? Were you looking at video evidence, or what are the metrics that you're looking at that you cannot explain?
Great question. So of the cases, there's a variety of them. The cases that are top of my mind are spread out over the last year and a half. I'm sure that there's some other anomalous ones a little further back, but the ones that I'm particularly most interested in, last year and a half, there is some video footage for a few of the cases, not all of the cases. So it's not just eyewitnesses, but in each of the cases I'm particularly interested in, there were multiple eyewitnesses and there is additional data to go with them. It remains to be seen whether or not that additional data is going to be sufficient for us to either resolve the case, understand whether it's a UAV, bird, or balloon, or say something substantive about the nature of the unknown phenomenon. So we're still trying to understand whether or not there's more data available, because we get the data that comes in from the witnesses, but we also go through a bunch of other sources. Whether or not we can enrich the data that was brought to us and then build a better case.
And what are some of the characteristics, or is there a trend among these things, and are they extended period incidents, or are they very, very quick?
In each of these cases, they were not extended. The cases that I'm thinking of, there was no commonality across the different cases, different morphologies, so orbs, cylinders, triangles. In one of the cases, it has been happening over an extended period of time, and it is possible that there's multiple things happening. There could be some UAV activity in the environment that's getting confused or conflated with the UAP activity, so we're trying to tease that out right now.
And just to clarify, earlier you said Langley was UAVs.
They're trying to tease that out right now. That's interesting choice of words. So they've got something that could be a UAV that could be possibly getting confused for UAP, and UAV is unmanned aerial vehicle, by the way. So it sounds like it could be a drone system or an unmanned aerial vehicle of some kind, and they're trying to tease it out again to get a better clarity on it, because now they've got instruments, I guess, pointed in that direction. That's an interesting way to phrase it. Shit, dude. I mean, if again, and I understand why Marco Rubio is going, shit, if this is our adversaries, whew, that's a problem. But I'm also thinking, if this is our adversaries, we have to have better stuff than this. We better have better stuff than this. Anyway.
The Langley incidents would not be among what you're describing.
Correct.
Constantine?
Thanks. Constantine Turvin with military.com. So one of the sort of key criticisms, I think, around this issue from the hearing yesterday was government transparency, lack of government transparency. I mean, can you sort of speak to that critique and whether you feel that AARO is being overly secretive, if you guys are working on being more transparent, sort of address this criticism from the Hill that you guys are emblematic of a government that overly classifies everything? And
yeah, it's an understandable concern, and I can make a comment. My wife would like me to share more about the UAP incidents too, but I guess it's on the record now. So the fundamental issue is that,
I mean, as much as a joke as that is, I'm sure when he lays down at bed at night and he's like, man, there are some pretty fucking weird things that we can't explain yet. It's interesting. And she's like, well, release it, you know? And I'm sure he can't tell her either, because if it's classified, if his superiors are like, yeah, you're not allowed to talk about this, that means that he's got to lay down in bed and kind of give her the same answers that he's giving right now. And it might be a passing joke, but I think that's a little insight into, even his wife is curious, and it seems like he is genuinely curious. So if you're a believer, this is the guy you want as your director, from what I can hear so far. He's curious, and he's also admittedly confused. But he's also he's going to go where the data takes him. But if you've got him intrigued, that's a good start. If you're a believer, it's a good start. But as of right this second, that intrigue and that curiosity does not mean it's a stamp of these are aliens. But it is, I mean, it's an interesting moment. It's a very interesting moment, and it should give you some confidence as a Matt Ford or a Jeremy Corbell or a George Knapp or a Lou Elizondo or any whistleblower out there, Dave Grush. This exchange so far, this 17-minute exchange so far, should give you guys a ton of confidence in this new director. A ton. I mean, look, I like Sean Kirkpatrick, but the tone difference between these two guys is different. Sean is just data. Here's the data. Don't fucking bother me with anything else. I have a feeling this is going to be a face of the office. I have a feeling that maybe interacts with everyday people, answers questions. Like I maybe they put that Twitter account to some use and have an open forum question answer thing with regular people. I think things like that would go a very long way. To do a Twitter space from the AARO account and have the director and whoever else there, and answer questions from average people, even if it's only for an hour, once a month. I think that would go a long way into winning trust and sharing what you guys are working on every month with us. Not do Q&As every month, but even just maybe do Q&As once every other month or every 2 months or whatever. But every month there should be some kind of space from that Twitter account giving people updates on what you guys are working on from the director. Like, that would be a huge PR move and a PR win. And there's a lot of people out there, and I made a comment on this, and we'll get to that comment, because this is Susan Goff here. It's been confirmed that the lady, the DOD public relations woman, who is Susan Goff, is sitting right next to the director of AARO. And all of the believers and all of the meme makers and all of the people who are really extreme and sometimes just, I want to say violent, but weird and culty, they all made memes making fun of her looks here at this hearing. And the only reason why they focus on her looks is because they can't argue the facts that have been laid out right in front of them. Oh, wait, what happened? We still live? Okay, cool. That was weird. We lost connection. Hold on a second, guys. We gotta reset the chat thing so I can see your chats. Give me one moment, please. There we go. So they went hard on the looks of Susan Goff because they can't articulate or argue against any of the things that were presented in that hearing for the only 2 senators that bothered showing up. They hate the fact that there's so many things, so many red flags, especially if you're a believer of Corbell, Knapp, Leslie Kane, any journalist, any Ask a Poll, any one of these assholes, none of them show up to the Senate hearing, to the hearing where the people who are asking the questions can actually sit in a skiff and listen to anything that person has to say or confess. How come they're not showing up in droves? Because, it was an open hearing. You could publicly show up, and nobody was there except for Ryan Sprague. And we'll get to that footage in a second. It's empty. It's empty when it should be full if it's game-changing information, but it's not. And I think these questions that we're getting in this Q&A have been really good. Anyway, let's continue with this, and so we can move on to the other stuff.
Cases from our partners. And in most cases to date, because we've been working through the services, those partners are providing data that is gathered from sensitive platforms, and we need to make sure that we're protecting the sensitive sources methods, not introducing vulnerabilities to their operations. So,
well, again, Andres, I'm suggesting not a Q&A every month, but just a public presentation. Hey, this is your monthly 15-minute Twitter space on what we're doing at AARO this month and what we got accomplished and what we're waiting on. I think that would go a really long way. And without exposing yourself to the folks in Twitter Spaces. Because, like, you know, and it's funny because, you know, we discussed about how Andres entered Twitter and his, you know, his skepticism and wonderful viewpoints, and how even a trained professional can be driven to the point of, like, I've had enough. I've had enough. And they leave and they take a month-long break. And now you're back. So who knows? Maybe the same experience is in line for the director of AARO. Because once you get into the spaces, once you start questioning and having interactions, something about it, man, that just draws you back every time. So maybe we could get him to that place. You know, who knows? It might be, like I said, it might be a good thing, but I think it would be fun.
So even though that there's nothing inherently classified about the existence of a UAP, we have to protect that information. When AARO receives those interesting cases, the cases that we're just briefly talking about, we try to identify if the UAP information can be isolated from the sensitive, usually it's metadata that identifies characteristics of the platform. And we work to downgrade that material as much as we can. But we can't do it unilaterally. It has to be in partnership with the folks that brought that information. That is a very deliberate process, as you can imagine, to make sure that we're not releasing sensitive information. So we have taken significant steps to speed that up. We've hired a number of declassification experts. We're going to be hosting a declassification workshop so we can make sure we're implementing best practices from across the DoD and the IC. All of that takes more time than I think the public would like for it to take, but AARO is working on it. We recognize that the types of cases that I was just talking about are, from my perspective, true anomalies, and we're going to need significant scientific rigor to address those. And yes, the US government has a lot of nice scientists, a little biased there, but we're going to need the help of academia and the public to address some of these. So we need to build that more transparent part.
And I think that's true with anything that the government does, especially when it comes to declassifying stuff. Like, they're having workshops for their office on how to most efficiently declassify this data that should be classified, that shouldn't be classified, excuse me. And that's going to take some time, man. Like, more than a year. And I know that's frustrating, but that's just the way government works, man. There's so much bureaucracy and red tape that a guy like this has to go through and train his staff on to really get to the core of this stuff. And that he's going to need these tools and assets, and also correlation from the public, to maybe bring some resolution to some of these cases. Again, like, if you're a believer and you hate this guy, you're a schmuck. I mean, even without that, you might be, but we'll just say, if you're a believer and you're out there making memes about Susan Goff instead of praising the efforts of this guy, you're lost. You're lost in the sauce, man. And it shows. Your coping shows.
And just to follow up, sort of on the flip side, is there any, as you look at cases to release, for example, you talked about how at least one of the interesting ones is sort of ongoing. Is there a world where you hold back release out of fear of drawing more reports, sort of drawing attention to a location and getting copycats or, what have you, sort of muddying the data?
Yeah, so that concern has been raised to us because bad data in gets bad analysis out. However, no data in gets no analysis out. And so being an NSA guy, I'm a firm believer in big data is going to lead to better conclusions. And I would rather have to filter out some of those copycat cases, but have more substantive data. If we're looking for a needle in a haystack, I'd rather have multiple haystacks to go digging through rather than just one.
Thank you.
Brandon?
Just one quick follow-up.
And that's comforting. Like, hey, give me endless fucking haze to look for needles, haystacks to look for needles, than just one. Like, that tells me he is going through everything. Everything. Andre says, I'm not back. I deleted again. I was just there for one space. It was more than enough. I got to go back. I don't know if that space was recorded, but I'd like to go probably back and listen to it and see what happened in there. Because I'm sure it went right back to the reason why you left. So that's interesting. It's funny. And also sad. Panda says, motherfuckers on Twitter acting like AARO's murdering whistleblowers. It's true. It's like, there's never been a better time to be a whistleblower than right now. You can go on Twitter and say whatever the fuck you want, and you will have an army of people willing to back up anything you say. Nobody's been arrested. Nobody's been taken off in handcuffs. Nobody's had their house raided. Nobody's been persecuted by the government. No one's lost their job because of it. I mean, the shit, if anything, the shit that Jason Sands has said has gotten him money. People have given him money for just simply telling stories with zero evidence. So if you are an actual whistleblower with real evidence, holy cow, I cannot imagine the kind of support you'd be getting. It's wild.
I'm sorry if I've missed it before, but what is AARO or your definition for breakthrough technology?
Great question.
So lots of people, lots of organizations have different definitions, and the working definition that we've been using informally inside of our office, and we are working on more formal definitions for the different domains, for space, the air domain, and the undersea domain. But the general definition is beyond state of the art today and beyond where we think that we could get in the next couple of years. So we keep an eye on...
Okay, so... That's not very far ahead. A couple of years. Let me listen to that answer again.
Organizations have different definitions, and the working definition that we've been using informally inside of our office, and we are working on more formal definitions for the different domains, for space, the air domain, and the
more formal definitions for space. It's interesting. It's just he's very carefully answering this question.
Undersea domain, but the general definition is beyond state of the art today.
Beyond state of the art today. Okay, the United States military has a lot of stuff that's well beyond the state of the art today. Well beyond 20, 30 years beyond state of the art today. So that's not a very big window. Okay. What's the other window?
And beyond where we think that we could get in the next couple of years.
And beyond where we think we could get in the next couple of years? Military doesn't plan tech for a couple of years out. They usually plan that shit decades out. So to me, this answer tells me, yeah, breakthrough technology is not alien. It's considered advanced today, or just a couple of years more advanced than today. A couple of years. To me, that screams human. That screams human. So breakthrough technology, when the AARO is talking about that, they're talking about just breakthrough advanced tech a couple of years down the road, not decades, not, millennia, just a couple years. It's an interesting answer, and it's a very small window. So breakthrough technology is not alien. So that's what he just said.
So we keep an eye on the capabilities of ourselves, our partners, and everyone else at the academic and the very technical level. And then if it's beyond that, then we would say that's a breakthrough technology.
Just a quick follow-up on your answer to Constantine. So if you need to, I mean, I guess a lot of Americans have this view of the government as kind of all-knowing and being able to ascertain everything. Particularly, I think of NSA and another agencies. And so, I guess if you could help us explain to readers, what is it about these phenomena that reach the limits of government, of the understanding of the professionals in the government, and why it would be necessary to bring in academics? That'd be helpful for us.
Great question. So, following on Brandy's question, if it's a breakthrough technology, by its very nature, we don't know how it would be done, right? If we knew how to do it, we'd be doing it already and it wouldn't be a breakthrough technology. And so usually those breakthroughs are coming from the academics. Historically...
But breakthrough from whose perspective? Because we listened the other day, Senator Gillibrand talking about how these drones have made a big jump in tech and we don't know their propulsion systems. Juxtaposed to this, where it's like, yeah, we don't know that it's really advanced for Iran. It's not advanced for us. We already have this shit, but it's advanced for Iran and China to be just flying this shit in our atmosphere. Yeah, we weren't prepared for that. We just weren't.
Either in science or engineering, the breakthroughs come from academia, and then they go into industry, and then they come into government. Government's employing a lot of scientists like myself and others who understand a fair amount about the science, but being able to extend that to something that we could not have imagined when we were in school or when we were in training is a very difficult process. And so we're going to have to pull in those folks that they spend all day, every day, just thinking of what is the next possible thing that you could do if you were just to tweak the equations a little bit this way or change the material a little bit that way. And the government, because of our day jobs, we don't get to spend all day, every day doing that as much as I would like to.
Just two small clarifications. So the what you called interesting cases at the beginning, and then Louis asked you more specific, spread out over the last year and a half. Just to be clear, those are cases that we don't know about, right? Meaning we have not read about these cases that you're speaking about. Correct.
Correct.
You said to Louis, one of the cases has been happening over an extended period of time. I think Constantine said ongoing. Just to be clear, that is ongoing, or was it just happening over an extended period of time? And you're not saying whether it's
extended period of time. It may be ongoing, but we don't know if the current activity is just drone activity in the environment, and so we're trying to follow up on that.
Well, he said before teasing out. It sounded like that was an ongoing thing and that they were trying to tease out whatever it is they were catching because they wanted more clarity on it. And now the answer's changed just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Put more energy into it earlier on. Something cleared up, and now we're checking on it.
Well, they're still checking on it.
Ellie,
but
CBS, just follow up on the interesting cases. Are the interesting cases that you're talking about the 21 cases that merit further analysis, or are they part of the active archive?
They're part of the 21.
Okay.
Yeah, that merit. So the active archive, just so that we're clear, those are cases where we don't have enough scientific data to continue the analysis. We're always looking for more. And then when we do, we'll pull those into the merit more analysis.
Okay.
Last year's report in the time frame had 281 new, I believe, incidents.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have 485. What do we owe this really large increase to?
So the new incidents, I think, to be clear, this
because
is
I think in
757.
your report here you talk about a total of 757 in the period of the reporting period, of which 485 were from this year, and then the remainder were from previous.
Yes.
But then in last year's report, which was from, and I'm looking at my notes here.
Why the ramp up in reporting?
Yeah, I mean, an additional 200, I mean, in the same reporting period.
Engagement.
Yes.
So we have the Gen Admin out, we're engaged with the services, we're engaging more with the services, helping them understand what qualifies as a UAP, how to report it, and we're getting more reports of the anomalous activity. It's not that we don't believe that there's necessarily more anomalous activity, it's just we're getting greater reporting. And we expect as we continue that engagement with the services, but also across the IC and the rest of the government, to the question earlier, we're going to see that reporting go up as well.
Right, because now they've got a system in place. They've got their instruments and people looking at it. So naturally, the reports are going to go up. That makes sense. That makes sense. That means that they're doing their job if they're catching more things. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
We're going to follow that with education campaigns so that, for example, the FAA is providing us reports now as well. So we're getting reports from the pilots. Some of the reports from the pilots are Starlink flares. So light glinting off of satellites at just the right time of the evening. It looks interesting and potentially anomalous. But we can model that. We can show pilots what that anomaly looks like so that that doesn't get reported to us necessarily. So we're going to follow up the engagement campaigns with education campaigns so that as we're increasing the number of accounts that come to us, we're not just getting more of the noise and trying to keep it focused on the interesting.
Just a very quick question on the active archive. Do you have an instance or instances where you have gotten more information for an event in the active archive and have pulled it out, or is that?
Thank you for asking. We do. Yes. Yes, we do. So it actually was the instance that I'm most familiar with was a Starlink instance. So we had several folks over the period, I think it was multiple months, were seeing interesting activity in the sky. And we found that because we're continuously looking back at that active archive and looking for correlations across those incidents, but also new incidents coming in, we found some of those correlations in time, the direction that they were looking, and the location, and we were able to assess that they were all, in those cases, looking at Starlink flares. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
How many people work in your office?
We have several dozen folks working in the office, but the power of the office isn't the number of people who work in it, it's our partnerships across the IC and the DoD, and hopefully in the near future, academia as well.
In the historical report from earlier this year, there was mention that in the 1950s and 60s, as pilots commercial pilots started flying, they saw reflections as well off of what were like U-2 aircraft at that time. So this new Starlink seems very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, that's very reminiscent.
So if you're seeing an uptick in that, that might be, again, a historical parallel where it's...
Yes, yep. And we do see some trends in the morphologies that are reported. So for a while, we're seeing a lot more balloons, and then pilots started understanding what some of the space trash looked like. And now we're seeing, as the mega satellite constellations are increasing, Starlink, and there's others that are going up, we're seeing an increase in those lights in the sky that look very unusual as those satellites are deploying. And we expect that that trend will also go down eventually.
Ellen? I have to ask a broadcast-specific question, but do you anticipate releasing any video related to any of the cases that were ruled out or that are still unexplained?
So we're going to we have some resolved cases that are of public interest that have been talked about publicly that we'll be releasing on the 19th. I think those are going to come with videos. Yep. And then as we downgrade information, the hope is that we will be able to release as much of that content as we can to the public so that we can get help in resolving it. Yeah.
Thanks for doing this. Moshe Gaines with NBC. You said earlier that there wasn't evidence that UAP activity was linked to foreign adversaries. I'm wondering, have you seen any kind of suggestion that foreign adversaries have been trying to capitalize off of this with disinformation or anything else?
We have not, but I am concerned that somebody could use the potential stigma and take advantage of that. If there is a stigma associated with reporting UAP, then that's an opportunity for the adversary to maybe conduct collection operations and not have folks report on it, but we haven't seen evidence of that yet.
So there you go. That was seemed like the whole session. And yeah, I mean, again, like there are moments in there where like it seems like they're open, especially the director is open to looking at these cases. It sounds like there's more data, more resolution, which is great coming down the pipe. I look forward to the reports that they're going to put out and the clarity that they're going to bring forward, because they've already done so. They've got, it's not a huge sample size, but just in the short time that AARO's existed, okay, we've gotten clarity for sure on Go Fast. It looks by the presentation that we had yesterday, or excuse me, on Tuesday, we're going to definitely get clarity for Agua Dia. The presentation, that short presentation that they made in front of senators on Tuesday was very impressive, and it seemed chock full of data, and I'm excited to dig into that data, and I can't wait to see what Mick West and other people are going to say about their conclusions to the Agua Dia footage. That was like literally, that's one of the best videos that UFO believers put on the table as evidence that extraterrestrial life is here, and we got it broken down in less than 2 minutes in front of senators that it was a lantern that wasn't even above the water, and that the heat of the lantern matched the ocean, and that's why it appears as if it's going into the water. And this is a theory that had been put out there by UFO researchers before AARO came to that conclusion. And that research was given to the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, which has been pushing that nonsense video for the last 6-7 years. And it's debunked now. It's safe to say that video is debunked. And that's thanks to AARO. We got the Kona Blue papers ahead of a conspiracy theorist like Jeremy Corbell releasing Kona Blue as if it was some real program. It was a program that was never funded by any taxpayer. It never existed. But if AARO doesn't put that out, and it just leaks out, then it's a can of worms of bad information. Same thing with this volcanic UFO footage that they put out in front of senators the other day. That again, we're waiting for this report. We're waiting for this footage. We're waiting for more of it, more data on it. But the idea that the AARO office is beating conspiracy theorists to the punch, they see this video and they go, okay, well, before Jeremy Corbell leaks this out as some extraterrestrial craft, let's beat them to the punch and tell everybody exactly what it is and who we spoke to when it came to debunking this footage. It turns out that the UFO going through the volcanic ash is nowhere near the volcanic ash. And that it's a balloon. Most likely. There's been way more clarity and honesty and answering questions from the AARO office than any podcaster, UFO journalist, UFO prophet, UFO boots on the ground researcher. This office, in the short time it has existed, has offered way more clarity and answers on the phenomenon that are UFOs than anyone else in the last 70 years. And that's something that you guys, especially believers, are going to have to deal with. You're going to have to figure out a way to cope with that. And I tell you, let me show you the way they're coping. It's not good. This is disclosure memes. He's had a real tough time. This is, by the way, this is Fettuccine Split. This is a guy that has made memes about my girlfriend, has made memes about other people's family members, has done the dirtiest work in support of Luis Elizondo. And now he's backed off of people's family members and now just make memes for the people he loves. But anyway, we got pictures of him at Busch Gardens a couple of months ago with Lou Elizondo at a cultist meet and greet at Busch Gardens. But this is how they're dealing with this. They're taking Susan Goff and they're making her into Cousin It. You know, or here we go. Here's Susan Goff as Susan Fratelli, you know, from like the fucking Goonies. This one's kind of funny. And it's not like some of these aren't funny. Like some of them are funny. right? But some of them are this is all they've got. The only thing they could do is make memes about Susan Goff and the people in the AARO office because they cannot answer or come to any sort of agreement in their minds that what's coming out of the AARO office is destroying their belief system. They don't even want to look at it because that means their belief system is in danger. And the only way they could cope is by making memes of this woman and commenting on her looks. And it's like, in no other world is it okay to attack a woman and what she's saying based off of her. And she didn't even say anything. That's the whole other thing. She hasn't said anything. Kolowski didn't reference her once in the hearing. Like, there was never a whispering like, oh, by the way, you can't say this or say this, or where he had to look at her and get approval for an answer. She's the PR lady for the Department of Defense. It's part of her job is to be here for the new AARO director in his first day at a Senate hearing. Makes sense. It's not conspiratorial. And the fact that you're taking screen grabs like this and making fucking memes out of it, it's like, okay, that's the best you got? Okay. You know, but it's just not very good. And so that leads me into this next thing, the Good Trouble Show. Matt Ford, boy, does this guy think he is really important. He writes, I'm pleased to announce that my statement for the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability has been entered into the congressional record as an addendum to Luis Elizondo's testimony. This is adorable. This is so cute. Written statement of Matthew Ford for the U.S. former House Committee on Oversight and Accountability Subcommittees on Cybersecurity, Information Technology and Government Innovation, and National Security, the Border, and Foreign Affairs. Unidentified anomalous phenomena exposing the truth, Monday, November 18th, 2024. Where was Matt Ford on Tuesday when the Senate hearing was going on? Oh, that's right. He wasn't there. He'd much rather engage the lawmakers that don't have access to the information and are spitting conspiracy theories than the actual lawmakers who have access to the information that don't agree with bullshit like this. But let's see. Let's listen to what he's got to say. Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, and members of the committee. I am Matthew Ford, an American journalist. You are not an American journalist. You are a lighting gaffer for production companies and stage shows. You are not a fucking journalist. I love this idea that these dickheads just attach this label of journalist just because you put on a tie and you've got a UFO show on YouTube does not make you a fucking journalist. Like, that's like Bill Maher calling himself a journalist. He's not. And I don't think he would ever consider himself a journalist, and you have worked for him. So the idea that you are so fucking unaware of yourself that you consider yourself a journalist? You're not even a fucking filmmaker. Show me one thing you have reported on for a news organization. Show me one. An article that you wrote with Chris Sharp? That's not journalism. That's fan fiction. At best. But I hate that all of these fucking UFO nutters are calling themselves American journalists. You're not. You're not an American journalist. You're an American dickhead. That's what you are. I'm Matthew Ford, an American dickhead and host of the Good Trouble Show. You see how much better that sounds and how much more truthful that is? Today, I'm introducing damning information regarding the former director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. I am a patriot who cares deeply about our nation's security. But above all, I care about the truth. Why do journalists write shit like this to members of Congress? Since when? Or as an American journalist, aren't you supposed to be unbiased? As an American journalist, why are you writing letters on behalf of the people you're interviewing? American journalist? No, American dickhead. That fits. In November of last year, journalists, again, UK dickhead, not American dickhead, Christopher Sharp, Josh Boswell, and I published a story in the Daily Mail exposing for the first time the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology's Office of Global Access and its classified UAP crash recovery program. Spoiler alert, no, they didn't. They wrote an article, but there is no evidence in that article whatsoever that proves any existence of any reverse engineering program. You just heard it from the committees that have access to information like that, and you just heard it from the director, AARO himself. So you heard it from the lawmakers who made the office, and you heard it from the people they hired to run that office, that this is not true. But according to American journalists, it is. The one American journalist and the two UK schmucks who got none of this right. Okay, let's continue. What else you schmucks got to say? They wrote up, they published, okay, so yeah, UAP crash recovery program. Last weekend, Christopher Sharp published a follow-up article in the Liberation Times. I love how he puts these things as if they're credible cornerstones of information. The Liberation Times is a fucking blog. It's a blog. That's what it is. It's a fucking blog run by a mentally vulnerable adult. Very mentally vulnerable adult. That's all it is. It's not a cornerstone of information or journalism whatsoever. It sounds like it. The Liberation Times sounds like something that people would take seriously, but it is not. And there's no argument for against that. They're providing further detail on how the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology operates its UAP-related crash recovery and reverse engineering programs through the Office of Global Access and the CIA's Counter-Proliferation Mission Center. I mean, how many different offices? And I mean, it's so many. So far, they've named, 2 or 3 offices here? And how come there's no whistleblowers from any of these offices coming forward? I mean, all of them are scared. All of them. None of them want to be the most famous person in the history of the planet by revealing that aliens are visiting our planet. Nobody wants that? Okay, continue. The head of the Directorate of Science and Technology serves as the primary gatekeeper of the entire UAP Deep Legacy program, overseeing operations such as the detection of UAPs through classified platforms. Which ones, Matt? Which classified platforms? Recovery operations? Which recovery operations? Disbursement of recovered craft to government agencies and private defense contractors, and the protection of derived off-world technologies. Where? When? Who? My sources, I wonder who they are. My sources have alleged, again, alleged, not confirmed, alleged, that blank, and this is a whole nother thing. If you're so confident and you're so fucking hell-bent on truth and transparency, why are you blacking out the name of the person gatekeeping all of the secrets? What's your fear there? What's your fear? If you're an American journalist and patriot who cares deeply about our nation's security, but above all, you care about the truth, then why the fuck are you blacking out names? Grow some balls and put out the whole thing, pal. But that's okay. We learned who it is. What a pussy. Like, seriously. Like, you are such a bootlicker. Such a bootlicker. He cannot help himself. Last year, I revealed that Dr. Shankar Patrick, the former director of AARO, had assembled a secret technical advisory group to counsel AARO. Following my story, Dr. Kirkpatrick confirmed the existence of this committee and to members of Congress. Oh, wait, where's the second page? Where's the second page, Maddie? There it is. But refused to disclose the members' identities. As of 2 weeks ago, my sources informed me that this classified advisory board continues to advise AARO. Multiple sources have confirmed that blank, the former head of the Directorate of Science and Technology and gatekeeper of the UAP Deep Legacy program, was handpicked by Dr. Shankar Patrick to be on the advisory board. I must emphasize this. The most consequential person involved with the cover-up of non-human technology is, quote, advising the office which Congress has given a mandate to find it. This is an abomination. This guy is such an asshole. He puts this in bold. This is an abomination. This is unconstitutional. This is criminal. Is it? So if it's so criminal, if it's such an abomination, then reveal it. Reveal your sources. Reveal who this person is. Reveal it. If you're so angry and you're such a purveyor of truth, then fucking just say it. Just say it, Matt. Ballless, dude. Ballless. Furthermore, this revelation is significant because one of AARO's primary missions is to provide a means for government whistleblowers to make protected disclosures on classified UAP special access programs and controlled access programs to AARO and its staff. And I love this. Kirkpatrick's no longer there, buddy. The boogeyman's not there. Focus on what's in front of you. He's still fucking bitching and complaining about someone who hasn't been there for months. Like, it's over, dude. He's gone. He's gone. And so is your UAP Disclosure Act. That's gone too. So it's okay. Move on to other things, you weirdo. The fact that Dr. Shankar Patrick chose as one of his primary advisors the very gatekeeper overseeing CIA-controlled UAP access programs raises serious questions about Kirkpatrick's true motives as the director of AARO. Again, you wrote this fucking 2 days ago, dude. He's not the director of AARO and hasn't been for fucking months. Like at least 6 months. And you're writing these people, you're writing lawmakers and putting this as part of congressional record, and you can't even get this part right. This reporting indicates that AARO may function as a flypaper operation, intercepting whistleblowers' testimony and feeding their identities back to the CIA. Not according to Senator Gillibrand, it's not. The only person who's fighting for you that has the access. You have heard that there are whistleblowers who don't trust AARO. My sources have informed me that this is one of the reasons why. If the CIA intercepts their testimony before it reaches Congress, whistleblowers are in grave danger. Dickhead. If they go to the committee that can get them in a skiff, they can directly tell those lawmakers. But you're writing the lawmakers that they can't get them into a skiff because those lawmakers don't sit on the fucking committees that would allow them to do so. This is one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever seen. He's writing a committee instead of addressing this to Gillibrand and the House Oversight Committee of on National Intelligence. The House Oversight Committee on National Security. The one that sat the other day, God damn it. I don't want to say the wrong committee. Let's just go to Gillibrand's page. Committee assignments. The Armed Services Committee and the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. I was close. Why aren't you writing her? No. Instead, he chooses to write the idiots that don't have access to this information. So this letter is fucking useless. It's useless. Therefore, I implore you to wield your subpoena powers against hostile witnesses such as blank, 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 and the former of the CIA's Office of Global Access, blank, blank. Dozens of whistleblowers are depending on you. Thank you for your leadership and your attention to this urgent matter. Again, if you're so ballsy, if you're such a fucking fighter of truth, that's all you care about, patriot, then fucking put the names in there, you coward. You coward. If you're going to hold water for your buddy Elizondo, the reason why Matt Ford is putting this under him is because he can't get in trouble for this. He can't get in trouble for this. But if someone like Lou Elizondo put this in, it's bold. If Lou Elizondo actually called out people by name, that might open him up to, I don't know, getting sued. Whereas Matt Ford, who the fuck is he? This is the members of Congress and staffers are going to be like, who the fuck is Matthew Ford? American journalist? The Good Trouble Show podcast? I'd be shocked if this makes it to one lawmaker, including the fucking crazy Nancy Mace. Dude, get a grip, Matt Ford. You're not this important, man. Nobody gives a shit what. Nobody fucking cares what you, especially lawmakers, not one fucking lawmaker knows who you are, let alone gives a shit about what you're doing. This was great. Just two things right here. Since our dismantling of Askapol's bullshit quote from Senator Gillibrand, he's gotten a couple unsubscriptions from Askapol, and man, he gets pissed. When people unsubscribe from Askapol, he gets so butthurt. It is incredible. It's so funny. He writes, we did more UAP interviews at the U.S. Capitol in the past 2 weeks than have come out of Congress in the past 2 decades. If you think this topic is worthy of a devoted UFO correspondent, show us by supporting us. Otherwise, we got to find another gig. And then he retweets it with a tweet from him an hour before going, vote in our latest Askapol, fresh post UAP hearing exclusive, show your adventure for timber show what and then okay, so yeah, he writes this, and then right after he writes this, he gets a Substack notification saying unsubscription for Askapol, and he takes a picture of it and writes, fuck this shit, peace out. And then later on writes again, fuck it all. Why we work 12 hours a day for this bullshit. And he takes another screenshot of another person unsubscribing from Askapol. And it's fucking hilarious. Like, this is all he cares about. This is it. Is give me your fucking money just because I'm there. Just give me your money. Just shut up and give me your money. And as soon as somebody stops giving me money, he gets super butthurt and pissed and yells at his audience for unsubscribing. Like, it's insane, dude. It's insane. So fucking funny. And he's always begging for money. Always begging for money, dude. Always begging for money. Let's see here. Look at this. What gives UFO X? Don't want to hear about our bills and the debt we've incurred covering Congress for you? Peace. Got paying clients to attend to. And again, like this, it takes a screenshot of people unsubscribing. Like, he doesn't give a shit. He wants you to pay him for all of this shitty questions he asks to members of Congress so that he could turn around and give you bullshit headlines and take people out of context. Also, he can get more revenue and clicks and idiots to subscribe to him based off of bullshit quotes. I mean, that's your ask-a-poll. So I'm happy that he's getting people unsubscribing from him, and I hope we had a hand in doing that, because you're bullshit. You suck. And here's another thing. Like, we showed on the show that he's like, oh, we'll talk anytime. We invited him to the show. Nothing. Ever since we've called him out on the show, he has not responded to us once. Not once. I wonder why. Probably because we caught him red-handed and bullshitting people. So this is the last thing I want to talk about. Average Chris, who, by the way, we talked yesterday. I think we're going to get him on at least once a month, and we're going to do a co-hosted show with Average Chris, because we're just cute together. Breaking: Timothy Phillips, Deputy Director of DoD AARO, shuts down claims from David Grush and Lou Elizondo of DoD and IC are hiding UAP programs. A file containing high-resolution UAP footage is hidden from oversight, and that's satellite imagery to prove their claims. So Timothy Phillips writes, I hope to look at the evidence of unreported UAP programs provided during today's UAP hearings. Heard a lot of inaccurate claims based on what people wish was true, not the evidence we have. Someone writes back to Zach, to Timothy Phillips. He writes, can you elaborate on which claims you believe are inaccurate? And then Timothy Phillips goes to write, the DoD and the IC are hiding evidence of programs to recover and exploit UAPs. That is a fucking lie. That there's a file containing high-resolution footage of UAPs being concealed from oversight. That is a fucking lie. That we have withheld satellite imagery of UAP that prove their claims. None of their claims are true. The satellite imagery of UAP is not a UAP. This case is resolved and remains classified to protect ISR capabilities. There are 12 oversight committees governing UAP, and classified briefings were presented in the House and in Senate SCIFs. So that's why you're only getting 2 lawmakers show up to the UFO hearing. That's why you're getting no journalists showing up to the actual UFO hearing. And that's why you're getting the questions that you're getting in that Q&A from the people you're getting it from. They were excellent questions to the new director. And it just goes to show exactly where his head is at and where the office is at and what they're looking at and what they consider breakthrough technology. To them, it's just stuff a couple years out. Or that's considered state-of-the-art today. Like, dude, that's probably the shadiest answer he gave in the whole presentation. Like, to me, that's such a small window of things that it tells you that, okay, the things that it confirms what Gillibrand said a couple of days earlier, in that our enemies have had a jump in their tech. And we're seeing that in these meetings. And it's a problem because we don't know how it works and we need to figure it out. I'm sure it's something very easy we can figure out, but we just need the instruments and the people there to make sure we can get all of the data we can. And then we can come to some conclusions. But again, this is Timothy Phillips. This is the Deputy Director of the AARO office. You know, like, I mean, it seems pretty damn clear, again, what's going on, and it's staring you right in the face. It really, really is. It is staring you right in the damn face. Let's listen to this last clip, because this is always when something like this goes down, you get a Stephen Greer come out, you know, on a Newsmax and say something like this, and this gets the believers hyped up and energized again. According to Stephen Greer, there will be a major data dump direct to the media from defecting legacy UFO members. Let's see what he has to say.
Pivoting to, which is very important, is that we're sort of moving beyond the whistleblower phase, and we're advocating for a group that are now defecting from these covert black sites, who will hand over to us the dispositive evidence and proof, which we will then provide to you, Bianca, and the media. This is a very bold step. Yeah,
She's
it's
ready.
a very bold step.
Everyone's ready.
This is something that's just happened. We have a.
Will it be the same kind of data dump you did last year with a whole bunch of fake UFO whistleblowers? Because if the data dump is on that level, I'm not interested. I'm just not interested. And I have a feeling it will be.
Special access project within law enforcement working with us, as well as a group of people who are at 6 different black sites running programs, including reverse engineering ET craft and the man-made ones.
I want you to come back and discuss this, and I think Americans
sure
are
will.
ready. The world is ready. They want this information out, and Dr. Greer, if anyone can do it, you
Thank
can.
you. Pivoting to, which is
I don't know what gives her that confidence because he hasn't put out shit, but okay, yeah. Well, we're waiting, Dr. Greer. We're waiting. I'm here with bells on. I can't wait. So whenever you want to drop those UFO whistleblowers working in the 6 black programs, we're here. We're ready. Actually, this is going to be the last thing I end the show on because this was amazing. Neil Goodman, right after the hearing. Neil Goodman says, I can't take it anymore. This is all in caps. I've been patient with this shit since 2017. It's been 7 fucking years, and this year we've had 2 fucking shitty hearings. This is as far as I come. I'm getting off the boat. Good for you, Neil. Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And the responses to this have been funny. Here's what's great is we can just go to the thing now. Let's see here. Joe is so pissed, dude. He's so upset about this Senate hearing because it smashes all of his hopes and dreams. He's just very, very upset. He's very heartbroken. Let's see. God, he's had so many things to say since this has been put out. Let's see here. Where is it? He had a response to that quitting. And it was really funny. And he also had a response to Gary. Hold on a second. Look at this. He said stuff like, anytime Kowalski came close to saying anything juicy, Goff would clear her throat. Those who have spent time around her know it well and have ineffectively labeled it the Goff cough. And then goes on to say, just FYI, the Goff cough isn't real. I was just having fun. Unreal, dude. Unreal. Let's see. Where is it? And I love it. Like, okay, yeah. So he writes to this. He writes, 7 years? Oh my God. You should have definitely got off the boat. You should definitely get off the boat, rather. And I tell this guy to fuck off. Oh, sorry. 7 years of pulling away the football right before you're about to kick it. You can't handle that? 7 years of that? Well, buddy, you aren't made for this game. You might want to get out of here. Dude, it's amazing. But there was one other thing here. Hold on real quick. One other thing here that was really funny because there was something that Joe posted that Gary Nolan had responded to, and it was just wonderful. Let me see if I can find it real quick for you guys. Okay, here it is right here. So this is was Goff sitting there with the constant side eye towards Kowalski attempting to increase stigma? I think it worked. After seeing this and hearing some things, my advice to witnesses would be, do not go to AARO. Kowalski may have good intentions, but this is not about him. Gillibrand follow-up. Important final Q&A. Gillibrand, quote, is there anything that you need to tell us, tell the Senate that you need from us? Kolowski, the only thing I ask is that you continue to champion us, particularly with witnesses. Encourage them to come forward and report to us so we have a more fulsome investigation of the potential historic or ongoing legacy programs. Joe writes, nope, in all capital letters. I agree with Gary Nolan. Disband AARO. So then you go down, well, let's see what fucking nutball Gary Nolan had to say. I fully agree. I cannot see a reason to go to AARO. They have yet to address past issues, provide methods of analysis, etc. for any of their conclusions. That's simply not how science is done. So don't claim the mantle of science when you're not actually practicing it. I'm Gary Nolan. I'm Gary Nolan. Remember me. Remember me. I'm Gary Nolan. You know, I'm the guy. Where is it? I'm the guy who, this is science.
Here's how I think about it. I think it's sort of like an intelligence test.
Oh, yeah?
It's rife for ridicule, but if you are sufficiently observant and smart, you can jump to the conclusion of what it is without having to have all of the data that proves it.
I'm all ears.
And so I can know that something is true without being able to draw a mathematical or geometric line between A to Z.
Okay.
And so I think that's part of what's going on here.
Whatever's going on here, stop it immediately.
Do you know what is in front of you and what you're seeing?
Nope.
You know, and it draws you forward. I mean, it's very self-congratulatory, obviously.
Obviously.
Thinking that, you know, we are the chosen, et cetera. And, you know, it makes you similarly subject to ridicule. But I don't see it as that. I see it as people who are showing the way.
You know. How about no?
How about fucking no? How about no, Gary Nolan? And I think it's a time for the rest of this community to say no. I'm sorry, that's not science. You don't get to skip a few steps. And you certainly, after saying something like that, don't get to call other people out on their lack of science. Like, you don't get to do that. And be taken seriously. Unreal. Anyway, you guys, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go to work tonight. Thank you so damn much for tuning in. Making Lou Reviews, your home and destination for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. Please don't forget to smack that like, share, subscribe button, ring the bell. That way you're notified anytime we do go live. And the schedule has been crazy and it'll probably continue to stay that way, unfortunately, for you guys. I'm sorry. But you can always catch us on replay. You can catch us on podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. I'll be uploading these last two podcasts here tomorrow, so they'll be up by tomorrow. And yeah, guys, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you everybody who joined us. Dana Shadell, I know we started early for you, but thank you for being here. Zeta Reticuli, Zach Hyde, Fifi Barbora, Dave B, Wise Monkey. Thank you again, Dana, for being a member of the channel. Pinzer Lou, one of our mods. Thank you for being here. Extra on X, thank you for being here. You guys, this was a fun show. If you enjoyed the show, if you thought that was good information, please share it. Check out the links below. There's ways to support this show with the almighty dollar. There's also ways, like if you're struggling with abduction, if you're struggling with things that go bump in the night, check out our reading list below. Maybe there's some books and links in there that can help you deal with those kind of things. So we've got all sorts of links in the description below for every single show to help with stuff like that. So I always love to remind people of that. With that said, again, you guys, love you. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. Peace out.
here's how I think about it. I think it's sort of like an intelligence test.
Oh, yeah?
It's rife for ridicule, but if you are sufficiently observant and smart, you can jump to the conclusion of what it is without having to have all of the data that proves it.
I'm all ears.
And so I can know that something is true without being able to draw a mathematical or geometric line between A to Z. And so I think that's part of what's going on here.
Whatever's going on here, stop it immediately.
Do you know what is in front of you and what you're seeing? You know, and it draws you. I mean, it's very self-congratulatory, obviously. Thinking that, you know, we are the chosen, etc. And, you know, it makes you similarly subject to ridicule. But I don't see it as that. I see it as people who are showing the way.